I learned my daughter had gotten married when she phoned me, upset that a payment hadn't come through. No congratulations, no advance notice, just treating me like I was her bank's helpline. She'd been engaged and I hadn't even known. I'm 58 now, and I've been providing for this girl since she was 7 years old. Apparently, I was useful enough to bankroll her entire life, but not important enough to receive a wedding invitation. I said I'd check on it and ended the call. Then I just sat there, staring at the phone, feeling something break deep inside. I'd sensed her pulling away for months, always too busy to talk when I called, replies reduced to single words, constant excuses. Last month she claimed she was traveling, yet her car sat parked outside her apartment when I happened to drive past. I sent extra cash for her birthday so she could get a new laptop. All I got back was a heart emoji. No phone call, no genuine appreciation. I kept convincing myself I was overreacting, that she was simply caught up in grown-up responsibilities. But the truth was I'd been quietly paying for a wedding I wasn't welcome at. I adopted her when she was 7. Her biological father was never present, and my ex-wife walked out when the girl was 9, relocating 4 states away to be with someone new. From then on, it was just the two of us, this frightened little girl and me. I worked extra shifts, took on weekend jobs, made certain she never went without. Dance lessons, summer camps, a college savings account, helping with schoolwork every evening, driving her to sleepovers, picking her up from parties. When she was accepted to an out-of-state university costing $40,000 annually, I found a way, taking out loans, delaying my own retirement plans, because that's what parents do. After she graduated, I co-signed her lease, purchased furniture for her place, replaced her car when it broke down, kept her on my health insurance, and continued sending monthly help while she settled into her career. For 25 years, every choice I made revolved around her, every budget, every future plan. She was at the heart of it all. That night's sleep wouldn't come. Around 2 a.m., I went to my office and started reviewing the financial records, tallying it up. Adoption expenses, the child support I covered before my ex gave up her rights, school fees, university tuition, the vehicle, apartment deposits, 3 years of post-graduation support, medical bills. When the total reached 6 figures, money that could have bought a home, built real retirement security, I felt physically ill. I'd given it freely, believing I was nurturing a bond that would last. Then I opened her Instagram on an old tablet where I was still signed in. The wedding pictures were visible on a public hashtag feed. 60 guests, a complete ceremony at a vineyard, bridesmaids, a reception with a DJ. My ex-wife was there, smiling in a fancy dress, the same woman who had walked away. Friends I'd known, her former roommate I'd once helped relocate, all of them witnessing her vows, and I didn't even know the groom's name. One photo showed her dancing with an older man, likely her father-in-law, captioned something about gratitude for family. I'd paid for the education that landed her job. I'd paid for the apartment where she probably met him. I'd paid for the car she drove to that venue. Yet I wasn't considered family enough for even a simple message. I didn't lash out or send furious texts. On Monday, I quietly canceled the automatic transfer. I contacted the insurance provider and removed her from my policies. Took her off as an authorized user on my credit card. Spoke to her landlord about withdrawing as co-signer. He wasn't pleased, but I had the paperwork. Transferred her phone to her own plan. Canceled the gym membership I'd covered. Updated all the streaming service passwords. It took a full week to disconnect everything. I wasn't furious, exactly. Just suddenly seeing the situation with complete clarity. I'd been volunteering for a part no one actually wanted me to play. She didn't reach out to see how I was during those early days. The quiet felt so ordinary it stung even more, revealing how entirely one-sided our connection had become. On day 6, her credit card was declined. Day 7, the transfer never arrived. Day 8, my phone finally rang. Her tone was sharp. "Hey, something's wrong with my accounts. Did you change anything?" No greeting, no checking in, just straight to the finances. I confirmed I'd made adjustments. Silence. "What adjustments?" I explained I'd removed her from all support. Another pause. "Why would you do that?" As though I'd acted irrationally. I replied that since she was married now and clearly had her own independent life, she no longer needed it. She began to argue, but I cut it short, said I had to go, and hung up. The phone rang 4 more times. Then came the messages. I didn't open them, just powered the phone off and sat in my silent garage among 30 years of tools, feeling completely hollow. The texts continued for 3 days, first puzzled, then increasingly desperate. Her rent check bounced, car insurance expired. The university placed a hold on her account. I stayed silent. Every notification simply proved she'd only valued me as a resource. On day 4, she appeared at my house. I pulled into the driveway and saw her car already waiting. She stepped out before I even shut off the engine. "We need to talk about this." Hair disheveled, no makeup, wearing sweatpants. I grabbed my things and walked past her. She trailed me inside, insisting I was being unfair, mentioning bills and obligations. I finally asked when the wedding took place. She hesitated, downplayed it, said it was small, spontaneous, hardly anyone attended. I mentioned seeing the photos, knowing her mother was present, knowing it was carefully planned. Her face changed. She grew defensive, claiming it was complicated, that I wouldn't get it, that she'd wanted to avoid family tension. Something inside me turned icy. I asked what tension could exist when no family was informed. She began crying, said I'd always been too controlling, always demanding updates, making her feel guilty, that she'd needed distance without my constant oversight. I asked whether the monthly deposits felt controlling, whether covering her insurance was overbearing. She had no reply, just kept sobbing. I told her stopping the money wasn't revenge, it was simply reality. She was married, had a partner, didn't want me involved, so there was no reason to continue financing her life. She asked how I could be so heartless. I nearly laughed. Heartless was learning about the wedding from a failed transaction. She left quickly, tires screeching. Her husband, Aaron, had no clue about the extent of my support. She told him she was completely self-sufficient, with her own successful career. When payments stopped and things started failing, he began asking questions. Then the landlord contacted about the cosigner, and Erin picked up her phone. Discovered her father had been backing the lease because she couldn't qualify for one, that her car was registered in my name. Her graduate studies were tied to my funding account. He phoned me directly, polite, wanting clarity. I gave him the brief summary. Long silence. He asked the monthly amount. Another silence. He thanked me and ended the call. That conversation triggered everything in their marriage. Erin's sister came across old photos I'd shared. Her graduation, where I'd posted how proud I was. Her college acceptance letter, father-daughter moments from recitals. The sister showed him, and he saw that my daughter had told everyone her father was absent, that she'd raised herself, worked through school, built her life from scratch. The evidence told another story. So did the payment history, tuition coming from my account, co-signer on the lease, my name on the car title. Everything she'd constructed her identity around carried my involvement, yet she'd erased me entirely. Erin's family started questioning things. Why wasn't her father at the wedding if their bond was supposedly so strong? His mother kept mentioning it. My daughter tried saying we'd had a falling out, that I was difficult. But someone located her college graduation speech from 3 years earlier, where she publicly thanked me by name for all my sacrifices. Hard to reconcile with the absent father narrative. Erin confronted her. She confessed to the lies, said she felt ashamed of depending on anyone, wanted to appear fully capable. He asked why she hadn't simply invited me then. No real answer. Asked when she'd last had a meaningful conversation with me that wasn't about finances. She couldn't recall. By mid-October, their marriage was crumbling. Aaron moved to his brother's, not over the money, but the deception. She'd founded their relationship on a fabricated version of her life. My daughter called me one late night, intoxicated and crying, blaming me for ruining everything, saying Aaron was leaving because of me. I asked how stopping payments damaged her image, unless she'd been dishonest about it. She hung up, rang back 10 minutes later apologizing, begging me to help repair things. Just cover rent temporarily, maybe speak to Aaron. I refused, said I'd spent 25 years assisting and was finished. She needed to handle it herself. She wept, and I felt only emptiness where that old protective feeling once lived. I ended the call and changed my number the following day. Without that $1,800 monthly, reality struck hard and fast. She earned $60,000 annually but spent like she earned double, upscale apartment, frequent dining out, clothing, vacations. My contributions had been extra disposable income. Rent alone was $2,000. Add car payments, insurance, utilities, student loans. She was immediately underwater. Her mother refused any help. She began selling possessions, the furniture I'd purchased, jewelry, her camera. It wasn't enough. By November, she'd relocated to a shared house with roommates, had to find a new home for her cat, dropped out of graduate classes. Erin filed for annulment in early December, claiming misrepresentation regarding her finances and family background. Wedding guests requested gifts returned. She lacked funds to repay them. Her online presence went silent. Someone remarked she looked worn out, picking up weekend shifts at a mall. I wasn't fixated on her struggles. My own life was improving more than it had in years. The money once sent to her now went to savings. I paid off my truck in January, applied extra to the mortgage, took a solo vacation, skiing in Colorado. My days felt like my own again. I established a scholarship fund at the local community college for students from single-parent homes, partnered with a nonprofit supporting foster youth. Quiet donations to people who truly needed and valued the help. It felt meaningful in a way supporting my daughter never had. She sent a handwritten letter in March, pages of apology. Said she finally understood what I'd sacrificed, admitted her selfishness, acknowledged rewriting her story had cost her everything. Erin gone, comfortable life gone, working 2 jobs, scraping by. No request for money, just regret and hope for forgiveness. The letter stayed on my counter 3 days. Part of me wanted to trust its sincerity, but I remembered that initial call about the missing transfer, remembered the wedding. I started replies but never sent them, filed the letter away. Some damage can't be repaired with apologies. A week later, my attorney called. My daughter had contacted him asking if there was any legal way to force me to resume support. He informed her no, she was an adult, but wanted me aware. Even after the apologetic letter, she was searching for leverage to restart the payments. It wasn't about rebuilding a relationship. It was about restoring the financial setup. The annulment finalized in April. Erin's brother casually mentioned it. Erin felt relieved and was moving forward. I nodded, didn't inquire further, but details reached me anyway. A woman I was dating spotted my daughter at the grocery store, exhausted, in a work uniform. Said she hardly recognized her. I replied that things had been difficult and shifted topics. For the first time, she faced life without a safety net. That wasn't my job to soften anymore. My life kept getting better. The scholarship fund distributed its first awards in May, 3 students receiving $5,000 each. I attended the ceremony and met them. Young people who reminded me of my daughter at their age, except they expressed real gratitude. One girl, whose single mother supported 3 kids on a waitress income, cried while thanking me. Said the award let her quit her night job and concentrate on studies. Driving home, I felt my money was truly creating change. I expanded the fund, added mentorship in construction trades. The nonprofit invited me to their board. I was creating something substantial. Summer arrived with no contact from my daughter for months. Then in July, a LinkedIn message. She'd started therapy, working on herself, hoped to meet for coffee, no pressure. I stared at it a long while and closed the app without replying. Days later, another message saying she understood if I declined. I archived both. What I didn't realize was she'd been evicted, tried her mother again, but that door stayed shut, couch surfed until it ended, landed in a weekly motel. Lost one job after her car was repossessed. A former roommate contacted me in August, concerned, sent a photo of my daughter at a bus stop, thin, defeated. I thanked her and did nothing further. Rescuing would only delay genuine change. In September, I sold the house, too large, too filled with memories. Purchased a smaller property outside town on a few acres, with space for a workshop. The change felt like a clean break from the past. I began taking on creative woodworking, custom pieces, restorations I truly enjoyed. Started dating someone seriously, Julie, who ran a bookstore. She knew my history, offered no judgment or attempts to repair it. We moved slowly. It felt natural. In October, an email arrived at my work address from my daughter. Said she was living in her car, had lost it all, knew it was her own doing but was afraid. Not requesting money, just guidance on how to rebuild. Mentioned attending free therapy sessions and finally grasping how deeply she'd hurt things. Said she loved me and was sorry. I read it twice, took a long walk to think. Julie asked what I planned to do. I said I wasn't sure. She said that was perfectly fine. I considered it for a week. Truthfully, I no longer trusted her, not financially, not emotionally. She'd shown I held value only as a provider. One message from her lowest point didn't undo years of that. Yet completely severing her forever felt wrong too. We cross-referenced Max's social posts and discovered he'd tagged our locations, favorite eateries, vacation destinations, crafting an online story where he belonged inside our relationship. Acknowledged or not. The next day I returned home. I needed this discussion in person, needed to witness Anna's face when confronted with the evidence. She stood in the kitchen, visibly relieved, beginning to say she'd missed me, but I interrupted. "Did Max threaten you during college?" Her face drained of color, answering before words could. She tried downplaying it, called it complicated, suggested Rachel was resentful and inflating events, insisted Max had matured. I repeated matured, as though the idea was laughable, then displayed the timeline James and I assembled. She stared at the pattern of visits, messages, and coincidences arranged so plainly it couldn't be dismissed. I explained Max tracked our whereabouts constantly, arrived within an hour of any post, monitored us, and she'd enabled it. Her hands trembled as she took the phone, attempting to justify that she'd viewed him as a supportive friend, pitied him post-breakup, never suspected calculation. Another batch of files arrived from Rachel during our conversation, more screenshots from old drives. Subfolders bore Anna's name, holding hundreds of images sorted by year and occasion, captures of every comment she posted, copies of deleted content, even notes detailing her outfits, daily routines. Work departure times at the insurance firm. I showed Anna the folder organization and described it as a surveillance record, not friendship, that this fixation predated our meeting. Tears came as she admitted cutting contact after college precisely because things turned strange. But years later he'd reappeared, seeming reformed, apologetic, steady. She'd convinced herself the history was buried. Never dreamed he'd observed her continuously. I asked why she'd hidden the college events. She said shame. She feared appearing foolish, worried I'd judge her judgment in people. I noted that readmitting him afterward represented the true lapse in judgment. She nodded, finally grasping what she'd welcomed back. Around midnight, Max texted Anna asking if she was all right, driven by our building, and noticed my car had returned. I displayed the message, highlighting that he cruised past our home at midnight, that his watching had grown reckless. Anna studied it silently before declaring she must sever contact entirely. Boundaries alone wouldn't suffice. I insisted the message be blunt. No softening, no ambiguity, because men like Max twisted gentle words into permission. We drafted it together, short, firm. No further contact, no visits, friendship terminated. She wavered, calling it harsh. Harsh keeps you safe, I answered. She sent it. His reply arrived instantly. A rant accusing me of manipulation, claiming he knew her true feelings, insisting he possessed evidence she still cared. Then the calls flooded in, 15, 10 missed, each voicemail more erratic. We listened as they escalated. The final one declared she belonged to him. I'd stolen her. He was coming over to speak face to face. That message made me grab my keys and tell Anna we were leaving for a hotel. I didn't trust his next move. She hesitated, suggesting we might be dramatic, until pounding shook the door. Max shouted through it. He saw lights, knew we were inside, demanded Anna speak without my interference. I dialed police while Anna froze in the hallway, phone displaying 17 missed calls in 20 minutes. The dispatcher instructed us to remain locked inside. Officers were 7 minutes out. Max kept yelling, claiming he'd supported her when I hadn't. Their bond was genuine. I felt threatened by their connection. When police arrived, he instantly shifted, calm, rational, describing a simple misunderstanding, just checking on a worried friend after a troubling text. Officers took separate statements. One pulled me aside. It appeared like harassment, but absent documented repetition, they could only order him away. They issued an incident report and advised pursuing a protective order if behavior persisted. Max departed, but his stare toward our windows as he left told me he viewed this as temporary. We blocked him everywhere that night, updated every password including streaming, tightened social media privacy, and checked into a hotel. I couldn't shake the sense he'd return. The next day we consulted a lawyer experienced in protective orders, bringing James's timeline, Rachel's files, the police report, and voicemail recordings. The attorney reviewed it all, took notes, and concluded we possessed solid grounds for a temporary restraining order, potentially permanent after a hearing. She outlined the timeline: roughly 2 weeks for temporary approval, service on Max, a contested hearing about 3 weeks later. People like this frequently intensify when formally excluded, she warned. Document relentlessly, avoid direct interaction, report violations immediately. We filed that afternoon. She estimated service within 48 hours. That night Anna barely slept, repeatedly checking windows despite newly installed front door and parking lot cameras. We replaced locks, informed neighbors and management. Max received papers at his job 2 days later. Consequences hit fast. He began emailing Anna from alternate accounts, each more guilt-inducing, insisting she'd regret it, claiming proof she'd encouraged him, threatening to expose truth about our marriage. Then forged screenshots surfaced, fabricated conversations implying Anna loved him, stayed with me from duty, planned to leave for him. I forwarded them to James, who analyzed metadata and demonstrated obvious edits: mismatched fonts, impossible timestamps, inserted replies in non-existent threads. He'd altered genuine exchanges to craft a victim narrative for court. We cataloged each fake, obtained James's technical breakdown of manipulation, and delivered it to counsel. The hearing arrived 3 weeks post-filing. Max appeared exhausted, portraying himself as a loyal friend abruptly discarded due to my jealousy. His attorney presented the doctored screenshots as proof Anna had invited his closeness. Our side countered with the full college-to-present timeline, Rachel's account of obsession, the photo archive, escalating messages, and James's proof of forgery. The judge examined Max's meticulously sorted collection of Anna's images, listened to the voicemail declaring possession, and questioned him directly about documenting another man's wife so exhaustively. Max faltered, claiming it preserved friendship memories, but it rang false. "This surpasses friendship," the judge stated. "This is obsessive tracking, and fabricating evidence indicates disconnection from reality." She issued a 3-year restraining order. "Zero contact. Stay 500 feet from us, our residence." Anna's workplace. No indirect communication. Max glared as we exited court, still convinced Anna would eventually see reason. We returned home. Anna finally collapsed in tears, admitting she felt foolish for missing the signs, for allowing his return post-college, for believing obsession faded. I explained manipulation succeeds gradually, normalizing presence, eroding self-trust, becoming essential while blinding her to toxicity. We began therapy the next week, individual for Anna with a specialist in long-term psychological manipulation, couple sessions for us. Her therapist helped unpack why she downplayed Max, feared boundary setting, found his validation addictive despite unease. I set firm conditions for remaining married, ongoing therapy, exploring her role, understanding why his approval outweighed marital health, full device transparency until trust recovered. No private discussions with mutual contacts who might relay to Max. Any breach of the order, any contact, I'm gone. She agreed instantly. The initial months tested us. Anna occasionally defended old decisions or minimized events, but therapy redirected her to facts. Gradually, she recognized how Max exploited guilt and empathy, made her responsible for his feelings, cast himself as her sole true confidant while undermining healthy boundaries. 8 months post-order, life feels calmer, truly ours. Max violated once, appeared at Anna's office with a letter, spent a night detained before bail. The judge added 2 years and cautioned jail time on further breaches. Anna left her adjuster role afterward, unwilling to risk predictable location, switched to remote work at another insurer. We relocated to an unfamiliar neighborhood, withheld our new address from mutual contacts, essentially restarted. Cameras remain, we stay alert, archive every attempted contact, but fear has softened to vigilance. Anna's therapist reports genuine growth, recognizing manipulation, honoring instincts instead of rationalizing them away, grasping that boundaryless kindness enables harm. Our marriage differs from 7 years ago, and perhaps that's better. Before, we ignored issues rather than confronting them. Now we maintain clear limits, honest discussions about needs and space belonging solely to us, no lingering shadow. The apartment feels larger with just the two of us. Photos on the walls are ours alone. The person beside Anna on the couch is the one meant to be there. The core truth: some exploit kindness as license to overstay indefinitely. The toughest part isn't spotting warning signs. It's accepting that shared history never excuses endangering safety. Meticulous records, trusting my gut despite controlling accusations, and refusing to let old friendship override obsession. These preserved our marriage. Would you have spotted the signals sooner, or dismissed them as paranoia too? If your spouse carried a hidden dangerous history like Anna's, could you rebuild trust, or would that cross an unbreakable line?